Hello guys and welcome back. Today I'm going over what to expect in 2018 from Gearbox Software regarding Borderlands 3. Obviously this is all speculation, but I am using information from previous Borderlands releases, so just still take all the information with a grain of salt. And this could finally be the year that we get some concrete information regarding the game, but I guess they've been saying that for years now, so who really knows? But with that, let's get right into it. So first, and the most likely event to expect in 2018 is the announcement of Borderlands 3 itself. Which, if you've been following the news around the game, you will know that Gearbox has really only been hinting around the game, instead of directly coming out and saying that the game exists. We know that they are working on it, but the company has not wanted to officially announce it until they have something to show for it and something concrete that fans can live up to and that Gearbox can be proud of. Also, something that could come along with that when they finally do announce it is that we could also learn the name of the game, which up to this point, people either believe it's going to be Borderlands 3, following in the normal sense, or people remember from a while back when Gearbox actually registered and got the trademark for Border Worlds. So fans have been waiting to see if Gearbox will ever act on that and use that as a Borderlands title. Which, if there were a game to use it, this could be the one, because if you remember at the end of Borderlands 2, when the vault opens and we see all the different vaults and planets and space, Border Worlds, we could travel to a ton of different places. Even for the hardcore fans, the fact that Gearbox though has decided to keep this game the worst kept secret seems strange after all this time. I know they're trying to keep hype down for the game, but all it's done is increase the hype of it. So now just for fun, let's go a step further and speculate when we think the announcement will come. If we look towards past Borderlands games as a point of reference, it actually varies a ton game to game. If it was a situation like Borderlands 1, I'd say that was the least likely. The game was first announced in 2007 when it was the cover story for GameInformer. But if you know anything about Borderlands 1, you'll also know that there were a ton of last minute graphical changes and story changes, which then pushed back the release, and we actually didn't see the full release of Borderlands 1 till 2 years after the initial announcement in 2009. So I would say this is the least likely to happen with Borderlands 3. There's no way Gearbox will announce a game in 2018 and then release it 2 years later in 2020. It doesn't seem right. While if we look at Borderlands 2, it was announced in 2011 after it was actually only a rumor or a leak from Eurogamer. And they actually got the information a month before the September issue of GameInformer, which was supposed to be the exclusive month-long coverage of the game. Even though that happened, the game still was set to be released September 2012, 1 year after. I'd say this is the most likely scenario. We could definitely see the announcement sometime this year, 2018, and then get the release sometime next year, 2019. Finally, and I think the one that most fans want and the most hopeful outcome, is that it could take the route of Borderlands the pre-sequel, where it was a super quick release. Borderlands the pre-sequel was actually announced in April of 2014 on the Gearbox website, and was released in the United States just 6 months later, which could be amazing to see from Gearbox, but it actually still all depends on where or when Gearbox wants to announce Borderlands 3. If they want to do it at a convention like PAX, then that could wait till a fall announcement or even GameInformer. So far, it's been the September cover issue, so we might not see the announcement till September. Next thing to expect is a trailer or teaser, which will probably most likely come at an event if Gearbox decides to do that, but then will probably follow soon on social media. All the Borderlands accounts, the @Borderlands Twitter, Borderlands on Facebook, and most notably the @EchoCast Twitter account have all come back after years of kind of being inactive and not as reliable. They've been doing Q&As and more community-driven things on the social media to try to gather that following again. which could mean that an announcement for the game could come through social media, which is unlikely. We did mention earlier that the pre-sequel was first announced on the Gearbox website, but that seems like the exception more so than the rule. The trailer, though, will probably most definitely be shared on all the Borderlands accounts, and from that we could see a lot of cool things in a trailer or teaser. We'll probably see the new planet, which will be most likely Promethea. It could show all the returning characters and maybe make it clear for some of the people who haven't played Tales from the Borderlands or other games to explain where some of those characters are and why they aren't in the series anymore. We could also maybe see more Iridians or the Mysterious Watcher, and hopefully we see at least one of the new Vault Hunters or characters, because I feel like most of us are still under the impression that we'll get 4 new Vault Hunters and maybe we'll get to play as the old Vault Hunters as well, but we really don't know. A new character could definitely be possible, but I will get to that actually in the later section on what to expect. And also in the trailer, kind of tying it back to the first point, I think that it will give us a release date or at least a release range. Most likely the range will be tied to a season, like fall 2018 or fall 2019. And the whole release date thing actually gets into the third thing to expect, which is that the release date will be revealed and could come in a few different forms. Gearbox spokesperson Randy Pitchford has stated that Gearbox has a special relationship with PAX events, and most notably PAX West. So for years now, fans have been wrongfully expecting a Borderlands 3 announcement every year at PAX West. But we're always left disappointed with a lackluster show for the most part. But if there were a year to announce it, 2018 seems like the perfect opportunity to finally let the fans know and like build up some hype for the game. But if you look at the schedule, PAX West in 2017 was actually in September, which could lead to some problems for when the game wants to release. If there's one thing that's pretty similar and parallel for the Borderlands series, it's the release date for the previous games. Borderlands 1 was released in October, Borderlands 2 was released in September, and Borderlands the pre-sequel was also released in October. I don't see Gearbox breaking this schedule with a new game. Fall is a great release for games in general because of the holiday, and also at this point I don't think Borderlands 3 has too much competition from other looter games. So if anything, other titles might have to shift their release date because they don't want to compete with the new Borderlands, because it will for sure sell very well. But getting back to the point that PAX is in September, it could make it unlikely that if the game is announced at PAX, or at least PAX West in September, that the game would then release 1 month later in October. Some people are going so far to say that the game will release in 2018, which I'm not saying is impossible, especially if they do one of the surprise release and announcements like the pre-sequel, but that would be a quick turnaround even for Gearbox. So let's just go in hoping that we'll get a release window for the game, probably not in 2018, but that we'll know at least at what point the game's coming out and how much longer we have to wait. And then the fourth and final thing to expect is a Game Informer cover, because that's one thing that's been consistent throughout the Borderlands series. Borderlands 1 and 2 have both been the cover stories for the magazine, and Gearbox is pretty loyal to companies that have supported them throughout the years. And if a Game Informer story is coming out, then most likely at least one Vault Hunter will be shown. Gearbox had stated multiple times that Salvador was kind of thrown together and put together for the magazine and was one of the only characters finished enough to show it all. Which is why a lot of the mechanics and aspects of the character changed, and even a lot of the game changed in general. But out of everything, this could definitely be shown in 2018. A Game Informer article is super exciting because it doesn't just show one character. It can show concept art, possible characters, a new planet, and so much more. And the reason that this is most exciting is because we really still don't know anything about the game other than it's being worked on, and it's a Borderlands game. So us being able to see everything in the new engine could be super exciting if Game Informer does decide to do another article for them. Those are the 4 things to expect. Just to recap, first, it will be announced by Gearbox officially. Then I would say if it's announced, we'll definitely get a teaser or trailer, maybe a teaser trailer now, since people will release a million teasers before the actual thing. Then a little bit less likely is the release date will be revealed, or at least the initial. It might get pushed back depending on how much Gearbox has done or how fast 2K wants them to put out the game. And then if we know the release date, then we could start looking at a Game Informer cover, which could give us a ton of information to break down about the game. But obviously this is all speculation, and based off, for as much as I could, previous installments of the Borderlands series. But with Borderlands 3, a lot of traditional Gearbox tactics have changed, as in not announcing the game and trying to keep it a secret and not letting the fans know. But it's cool, it's fine, we've made it work. But let me know what you guys think down below. Do you predict the same things as me, or do you expect less or more than me? Do you think that we could see the actual release, or do you think we'll get no new information about the game till 2019? Let me know all your thoughts down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and see you guys in the next one.